Hi, welcome to the second video of a series intended to help teachers and students with the creation of classroom content. In this video, we are going to create simple and effective posters and presentations by using Google's material design principles. I will provide a link in the description to download this PPT so you can start with the template. So, effectively, we're going to be creating something that looks like this. In this video, we're going to be using principles related to creating dark-themed posters and presentations. Let's look at the basics of color theory from a material design perspective. The first thing that comes to mind when you're creating a dark theme is that the background has to be black. So let's start off with creating a black background. The first thing you want to do is right-click, choose Format Background, and you can see this menu popping up on the right. Here, choose Solid Fill. Give a black background. Now there are available preset colors here, but I'm not going to choose these colors. Let's go to More Colors, then go into Custom, and RGB stands for red, green, and blue. So the red, how much red values, green values, and blue values. Let's go into the hex value and select 000000. That's 6 zeros preceded by hash. The first 2 zeros represent red. The next 2 zeros represent green, and the final 2 zeros represent blue. Setting 00 to red, 00 to green, and 00 to blue will result in a color that is black. Click OK. You can see black. Now let's insert a text box. Change the color to white. Let's type in something. Pure white text on a pure black background can cause some amount of eye strain. To prevent that, we're going to change the black background to a gray one. Go back to Colors, Custom. Google suggests hash 121212. The change is going to be quite subtle. Now that we've configured the background, let's configure the text to make it a little more ideal. Material Design Guidelines suggest that the main text can be 100% white. I am going to be creating a few text boxes to explain this. If something is 100% opaque, it means it's 0% transparent. And if something is 90% opaque, it means it's 10% transparent. The first one is at 100% opacity or 0% transparency. The second one is high emphasis text. Will have to have an opacity of 87% or a transparency of 13%. Medium emphasis text should have an opacity of 60% or transparency of 40%. Finally, low emphasis text should have an opacity of 38% and a transparency of 72%. Now what this does is provide visual hierarchy. As you can see, your eyes are instantly drawn to the first sentence because it has more emphasis. As you keep going down, the emphasis becomes less. Let's quickly create a basic layout for poster design. Let's insert a container or a text box through Insert Shapes and then choosing a rectangle with rounded corners. So let's create one. You can manipulate the dimensions of the shape by dragging the corners or any one of these points. By moving this one around, you can change the direction of the box. This yellow-orange handle point is going to dictate how rounded the corners are. We're going to need a rounded corner that's really subtle. Under Shape Options, go to Line, take off Solid Line, which is basically a border. If you can't see the border, I'm just going to show you what it means. This is the border. We don't want the border, which is why we're going to do no line. Takes off the border. Now let's change the background of this container. In the Format Shape tab, under Shape Options, go to Fill, and under Color, choose More Colors. Under Custom, change the hex value to hash FFFFFF. That is 6 Fs, and that will give you a pure white. Now we're going to discuss the concept of elevation. So what is elevation? Create a new slide, insert a new shape, and copy it. Place the shapes side by side. Let's go to Shape Options and under Shadow, let's choose Center Shadow and this Center Shadow as well. They both seem to be lifted off from the background. Now let's increase the first shape shadow. We blur it so that it's less harsh. Right off the bat, you can tell that the first one seems like it's lifted a lot more from the background. Look at it in terms of a white paper, which is the background. Now these two containers, you can say, are cards, and cards play an important role in material design. The first card seems to be a lot more elevated than the second card, which means the first card is at a higher level than the second card. When you're designing a poster, the first container is going to draw instant attention because it seems like it's a lot more in the front. To give you more perspective, the shadow of the first element falls on the second element. When you introduce yet another card, you have a hierarchy where this card grabs your attention compared to the other two. Now going back into dark theme. So now we're going to have to create a basic layout. But first I'm going to change the transparency of this container to something a whole lot darker. I've changed the transparency to 95%. So for my basic layout, I'm going to require 4 containers in total. To duplicate your container, press Ctrl C and Ctrl V to paste. As we can see, I'm employing the grid lines on the screen, both the reds and the grey grid lines, to ensure that spacing is consistent. So the container on the left is going to hold the most important details of this program or event. I want to change the container size into something about half its size, including a little space, so something lesser than half. To do this, I'm going to right click on the shape and click on size and position. On the menu on the right, I'm going to change the height to something around 5 centimeters. I'm going to duplicate this by pressing Ctrl C and Ctrl V, and I'm going to align it with the grey and the red bars as we see. Let me create one more container and use this as the heading. As we can see, the layout doesn't seem all that appealing as of yet, and this could be because the spacing isn't optimum. So let's adjust the spacing. Now let's populate the containers with some content. I'm going to head to my previous slide and copy the text. As we can see, the heading doesn't seem like a heading as of yet. Let's change the font size to correct that. I'm going to select the entire text and I'm going to go here to change the font size. Choose something that seems appropriate, and for me 32 seems just fine. Now I prefer my heading to be in one single line. Since the heading needs to draw attention, I'm going to change the background of the heading's container to something a little lighter. From 95%, I'm going to make it 90%. The heading now draws a lot more attention. Now let's go back to the previous slide. To make data aesthetically more appealing, in this case I've used a table. So let's create a simple table. Go to the Insert tab and click on the table icon. Now you can choose the kind of table you want. I want a table with 2 columns and 3 rows. The table already comes with default colors, but I would like a very basic simple table. Now on the ribbon, I'm going to uncheck header row and banded rows. I'm going to head to this drop down here and I'm going to click on No Style, No Grid. This will take off any default formatting of the table. I'm going to reduce the table's size and I'm going to enter details. Speaker. As we can see, nothing is visible as of yet, and this is because the text is in black. Go back to home. I'm going to select the entire table by ensuring that you see a cursor that points in 4 directions. I then click on the table with this cursor and now I'll change the color to white. Whatever we type in the table from now on will be in white. I'm going to adjust the table a bit. To align the table vertically and horizontally, move the table around until you see a vertical and horizontal dashed red ruler appear. I'm going to go back into the previous slide, copy the contents. You're probably wondering how I've chosen this color. Let's delve a bit into colors. Let me go to the first slide of this presentation. This slide contains all of Google's material design colors. For this one, I'm choosing the red one. So click on the red one, copy it and bring it back to slide 3, zoom a little bit out by clicking here and now paste the color scheme next to it. I want to change the color of Jonas Kanwal to the primary colors. On any of the color schemes I've just showed you, change the primary text color to the value in 200. I'm going to select the name Jonas Kanwal and change the color to the primary color, which is any value in the 200. Then right click on it, choose Format Shape. On the right you'll find the Format Shape menu. Choose Text Options and now ensure Solid Fill is clicked. On the color menu, choose Eyedropper. Now you're presented with this color picking tool. Ensure you move to 200 and click on 200. The color now changes As you can see, the most important elements of my slide are in the same color. That is Jonas Carnwald, highlights, and webinar on dark theme. I pasted both the logos, and these logos could represent your brand or a collaboration between your brand and some other brand, as is my case here. The collaboration between Sigmundus Creatus Est and Edith Lux. You may notice now that the QR code seems to break the layout. I'm going to tweak the layout a bit to ensure that the QR code and the rest of the elements play well with each other. Ensure that all your elements have a good amount of padding. Padding is the space between the border of the container and the text within it. As you can see now, I'm presented with a huge space in between. It's a good idea for me to ensure that people know that there's a difference between the left and the right elements. To ensure that this happens, I'm going to click on the Insert tab, then click on the Shapes menu, and I'm going to choose the line bar. Now I just draw a line. It doesn't have to be the entire height of the containers, something in between should do. I place it appropriately. I'm going to change the color of the line to that of the low emphasis text, which is white with transparency of 72%. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it. I'm going to flip it, and now I'm going to drag it here for aesthetic purposes. Now I'm going to add my final details. Now I'm going to optimize my text to ensure that it follows the principles of visual hierarchy. I'm going to select the text in the first column of the table, and I'm going to change the transparency of the text to that of low emphasis, which is 72%. Next, I'm going to select the text in these two cells and change the transparency to that of medium emphasis, which is 40%. Next, I'm going to highlight Jonas Carnwald and bold it so that it gains more attention. I'm going to change the font of this table to a better font, which in my opinion is Calibri Light. My predominant font happens to be Calibri Light, and I've used it everywhere except here. When a particular container has a lot of text, I've chosen my font to be Font Schrift Semi-Light. Now that we're done with our event flyer, I would like to discuss the color of the background. Though Google's material design guidelines suggest that the background should be #121212, you can change the background color to something of your choice. So let's say that I want a color from the red color scheme. Create a new text box by going to Insert, Shapes, and then choosing Rectangle. On the Format Shape tab on the right of the screen, I'm going to go to Color, choose Eyedropper, and change it to the value on 200. Change the transparency to 92%. Change the dimensions of the box to something really tiny, which is on the dark gray background. That is the background having the color of #121212. Now right click on the background and choose Format Background. On the Format Background menu, click on the Color menu, choose Eyedropper, click anywhere in the box you just created. Now you may delete the box which was created only to change the color. Now say you would like a color from the green color scheme. First, change the slide's background to dark gray by right clicking on the slide, choosing Format Background. In the Format Background menu on the right, click on Color. In the menu that appears, click on More Colors. In Custom, under Hex, change it to #121212. Now that your background is dark gray again, click on the Insert tab. Under the Shapes menu, choose Rectangle. Now, on the dark gray background, draw a tiny rectangle. Change the color of this rectangle by right-clicking on it, choosing Format Shape. On the Format Shape menu on the right, in the Color menu, choose Eyedropper and click on the 200 value of the green color scheme. Change the transparency to 92%. Right-click on the slide background, click on Format Background. Under the Color submenu, choose Eyedropper and click anywhere in the new box you just created. Delete this box. As you can see, the background is now changed to a greenish background. Now you have both the traditional dark theme as well as a branded dark theme that can be based on the colors of your college or workplace logo. This concludes the video on the basic principles of material design for poster making as well as event and webinar flyers. By the end of this series, we'd be able to design presentations, posters, as well as generate videos for the classroom. If you have any ideas or suggestions, drop them in the comments section. Hit the like button, subscribe, and click on the bell notification icon to stay updated with all my future videos. Thanks for watching.